Hi there, it's Chris from West Wickham Health and Fitness again. I'm visiting Phil the Butcher, and today we're going to do an educational vlog on the cuts of meat that you can get from a cow or a bull. Phil,
mainly a cow.
Mainly a cow today. So Phil's going to talk us through what cuts of beef, all beef we get from a cow, and what to expect from each cut and how to cook each cut. So I'm just going to grab the camera from Phil so that we can actually see what's going on. So Phil, you do your business, and you tell us what's going on.
This is just a small selection from a Scotch cow that I processed this morning.
So did you actually get a whole cow in?
A
quarter of a cow. Okay.
This mainly comes from the front end of the cow, which is on this picture here, which is from the head here, which is mainly called the forequarter end of the animal.
Okay.
And from there back is mainly the hindquarter end of the animal, where you'll get all your steaks and all your roasting joints from. But mainly this end here today is what we're going to process here today.
Okay, and is the back end of the animal the more speciality meats, the more expensive meats?
The back end of the animal is more your steak end, which is like this sirloin steak, which comes from the loin here, down here.
Okay.
Your ribber beef or ribeye steaks that come from here, your rump joints here and here.
Okay.
And then you get your top side joints here, which is this cut of meat here.
Oh wow.
This is a top side joint.
Right, so I'm noticing that as the good cuts of meat are getting smaller and smaller. Is that
it's the reason why? The reason is because you prep them in smaller joints. Because most of the cuts from this end of the animal are seamed. They've got seams in them.
Right.
So they may come big. You have to seam them out to get the best quality out of each cut of meat. See, like this is a Scotch Shinner beef, which it comes from the front leg of the cow.
Okay.
Just here.
Yeah. And
this is this particular cut. It's beautiful for long slow cooks in slow cookers, for stews and casseroles.
Okay. Sorry, before you move on, what sort of, is this tougher than the back end of the cow?
Well, I was just going to, this is the front leg, this is the back leg.
Right.
There's not a lot difference in the actual flavour, it's just that one you could cook for slightly lesser time.
Right.
One's called shin and one's called leg.
Okay.
That's just the difference of front leg and back leg.
But they're the same quality?
Same quality.
Right, okay.
Same quality, same length of cooking time.
Okay.
Anything from like an hour and a half to 4 hours.
Okay.
Depending on how you're cooking it.
Right.
This is a cut of meat we've got here. It's called buttock. This comes from the rump of the animal.
Okay.
Here, which is called buttock. And this is this cut of meat here.
Right.
A lot of people would identify this as for goulash and stroganoff.
Oh right. Okay.
It's a cut of meat that if it's hung like our meat is, you wouldn't have to use rump steak. A lot of people use rump steak for stroganoff. If you've got a good quality piece of buttock, that would do just as good.
Okay, and is that cheaper than rump steak buttock?
About 40% cheaper.
Oh wow, that's worth knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
So quite a lot cheaper.
Okay.
This is another cut of meat from the buttock. Well, what I've done here, this is a stir fry beef.
Yeah, I can
very
see
lean,
that. Yeah.
Very tender, and very quick to cook. You know, you'd be cooking that for about 12 minutes.
Right, so that is very
quick.
So you literally sear it, do you?
You wouldn't seal it too high. The reason a lot of people buy stir fry and it's not doesn't come out quite as tender as what they're expecting.
Yeah.
Is because really, if I was truthful, this cut of meat I would do quite slowly to begin with.
Yeah. In
a little bit of oil or your choice of
cooking medium. Yeah.
Then I would do it, just seal it very low, about 50 electric or gas mark 1.
Yeah.
On top of the stove.
So that is slow, isn't
very
it?
Slow,
yeah.
Because the higher you cook it, the tighter the muscle will be.
Right.
Just because it means something you can stir fry it doesn't mean you have to cook it at a very high gas.
And I think loads of people make that mistake, because I know I do.
Make that mistake.
Yeah.
So cook it at a lower gas.
For how long for?
You know, 12 to 15 minutes.
Right, okay.
That's that cut of meat.
Sorry, where does that actually come from again?
This comes from the buttock, the thick flank.
Oh, here. So that's the same as that goulash quality meat there.
The same, very tender.
Yeah. What about the mince?
Mince, we use a cut of meat which is called chuck steak.
Okay.
Which comes from the shoulder. Anyone who's bought mince in this shop will know that 9 times out of 10 I will take a piece of meat from the window which is chucked and mince it.
Okay.
We do that because that way we can ensure that you're getting a quality cut of meat and you know what you're getting is from the windows.
Yeah.
It's very good quality.
And obviously the mince you can use in spaghetti bolognese, beef
chili,
burgers,
meatballs.
Yeah, meatballs as you make for us.
You'll know that there's no sinews in it. It's a beautiful cut of meat.
And where does you said the chuck comes from? The shoulder.
Comes from the shoulder down here. It's mainly braising steak, chuck steak. Here we do it diced, chuck steak, and this is a cut of meat called blade steak.
Okay.
And this is here. This is another cut from the shoulder of the animal called blade steak.
Right.
Very, very good. It contains a little bit more fat, but beautiful cut of meat if you're going to do a slow cook for about 4 hours. You know, ideal for a pot roast or a slow cooker.
Slow cooker, yeah.
You know, now winter's coming, it's a cheap thing to purchase a slow cooker. Ideal for working mums. Just put it into the slow cooker. You don't have to seal it. A little bit of plain flour with it. In with your veg. Put it on slow all day.
And you'll have a good easy meal.
And you'll have a good easy meal at night.
Yeah, fantastic. So how much there, how would that feed a family of 4?
That would feed a family of 4 with your veg and dumplings.
Yeah, sure. And how much would that cost?
Well, I think that's about 1 kilo in weight. I'll just weigh that just to make sure. But it's just under there, so that would roughly cost about $7.80.
Okay, and you know, compare that with a takeaway or a meal out. It's like there's no comparison, is there, for quality?
Quality, right?
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you put whenever I'm doing a casserole or a slow roast in the slow cooker, I always put twice the amount of veg in it.
Yeah.
Because the next day, the stock that's left, just get your blender and turn that into a soup.
Yeah, fantastic.
And you've got a soup starter.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's just not a one-pot meal.
No.
A lot of people, you know, the kids may not come home, you think it's a waste.
Yeah.
But the next day, transfer that into a saucepan on the stove.
Yeah.
You know, and just get your blender, blend it down, you've got a starter.
Yes, fantastic. Well done. Brilliant idea. Okay, so moving on from the shoulder, are we still on the shoulder?
We're still on the shoulder.
Okay.
This is a cut of meat which is very, very popular at the moment. It's called brisket of beef.
Okay.
It's a slow roast, a pot roast. This comes from here, down the bottom of the belly of the animal.
Oh, right.
Called brisket.
Yeah.
Here. Traditionally, it was a pot roast. Not a lot of people use it. A lot of people use it for slow roasting pressure cookers and things like that. But it's become very popular with all the chefs on telly. Really? So if you Google it, brisket of beef, it's ideal for a pot roast casserole. And again, it's a cut of meat we'll eat very tender. Just seal it, as in with flour. Put all your veg in it. Just leave it in the oven 5 or 6 hours. You know, an easy Sunday roast. You're not chasing the joint. Yeah, it's a relaxing Sunday roast. Lovely. Okay. And what are we moving on to next, Phil? Next, we're moving on to a diced. This is a diced chuck steak. Okay, that looks quite tender. It's very, very tender. Yeah. Look, I'll just pick it up. You can see that the muscle is very, very loose. Then this is a common mistake with people when they're buying braising steak. Is that a lot of meat is labelled braising steak, but from supermarkets. I'm not just having a pop at supermarket, but a lot of people don't know that actually what they're buying by looking at it isn't braising steak. This cut of meat here, which is actually labelled up stewing steak here. Yep. This is called actually clod and sticking. It's from the neck of the animal here. Right. And we don't actually produce this cut of meat in this shop. Why is that? Because it's too coarse a grain. Okay. It's traditionally what have been used. My parents would have used it, and some parents would have used it. Got it from their local butchers, and their local butcher would have said yes, it's stewing steak, and they would have more than likely put it in a pressure cooker. 20 minutes in a pressure cooker, and then it would be tender. But in today's quick eating, everything's got to be ready society, it's just not a viable cut of meat to sell. So we don't sell it, and we don't even buy it for mince.
Okay.
Because it contains, it's too grainy, too coarse grain, too many sinews in it.
Okay. So chuck steak, yeah?
Chuck steak.
Lovely. And slow roast him.
Slow roast. It takes about an hour. Just put a little bit of plain flour on it. You don't have to seal it.
Yeah.
Put it into your casserole. Make sure it's well covered. Loads of veg. You can do it on top of the stove or in the oven.
Okay.
It's a mix of modes. You don't have to do it either.
Lovely. So what have we got next?
This is the next one here. This is a stewing steak from the chuck shoulder, which has been seamed out. So you can have it in steaks like that.
Right. They're quite thick, aren't they,
They are thick, because actually when we cut them thick like that, because you don't want the meat to cook away. You don't want the flavour. If you cut it wafer thin and you've got it in the stewing or on top of the stove or in the oven, you want it to be able to cook for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So if you have it too thin, there will be no release of flavour.
Right. Okay.
And it could go tough.
Yeah. Okay. So it needs to be thick.
It needs to be medium.
Yeah. Oh, medium. Okay.
It can be one or the other, but I wouldn't cut it too thin, because that way it may stand a chance of cooking tough.
Right. So how do we cook that particular?
Same again. Flour it. There's no need to seal it, and then put it into the oven.
Just as is, or
just as it is.
Okay.
Stock cubes. You know, I recommend people to sauce bones for stock. It may take time to make a little bit of stock, but the goodness you'll get from the marrow and the stock will make the meal. If you can't source stock bones from here, get gel stock cubes. They're very good.
Yeah.
But I would recommend using beef stock cubes for beef.
Yeah. Chicken for chicken. Yeah.
Not just chuck a stock cube in, which I think some people are guilty of.
Yeah,
even
and
myself.
You can actually buy organic stock cubes now, so people can still make sure they're eating healthy stock with healthy meat.
Yeah, because a bad stock cube has got so much salt in it.
Yeah, absolutely, and you don't want to really, upset the taste of the meat, do you? Okay, so what do we have next then?
Well, that's about it, what comes from the front of the animal.
Lovely.
I could show a few roasting joints.
Yeah, if you like.
Okay.
You've got a few steaks here though, haven't you?
This is a sirloin steak here. And then...
And that comes from the back of the animal.
That comes from the...
Okay, so we're back with Phil now, and he's just going to talk about the steaks now, really, and the back end of the animal and the cuts of meat that we can get from there. This is a matured sirloin steak.
It comes from the back spine of the animal.
Okay.
This is matured on the bone. We don't bone our steaks out. We tend to cut them off the carcass, the loin, because we mature it on the bone.
Okay.
And it gives much better flavour. That end there is a sirloin steak, and if we go the other end, then we've got a ribeye steak there. That comes from there, and that comes from here, which is called the forehead, which we take our ribeye steaks from. Right, okay. And which is the better quality steak, Phil? Well, hung like that on the bone, cut off the bone, they would be both very good. Okay, very lovely. Very well matured steaks. Okay. This cut here, as you can see, I'll show you both sides. Yeah. That is slightly darker. Yeah. That is slightly lean, but it's because it's been hung on the bone and matured. Right. And this is like this. We hang it like this. This is called a rib roast, and we would sell that either 2 bone or 1 bone. Yeah. And then we would bone it for the customer if required. Okay. That would be your Sunday roast joint. It's the most popular cut of beef at Christmas, which is rib of beef. Okay. Lovely. This cut of meat here is called a silver side. Yeah. It's a very traditional cut of meat which has come back into popularity with a lot of housewives, because it's one solid cut of meat. It doesn't fall away in seams or anything like that. When you're cutting your Sunday roast and it falling away into little bits, that's a sign that it's been over trimmed, overhung. Right, okay. And not particularly good quality. Right. If you're cutting a piece of meat and it should stay in one slice as you're carving it.
Okay, that's a good tip to know.
That's a cut of silver side, which comes from here.
Right at the rear end.
Right at the rear end. And traditionally you get silver side, top side and corner cut.
Okay, lovely.
All from them 3 cuts.
Right.
This cut of meat here is part of the silver side as well, but we sell this as beef olives, or we cut steaks off it for quick frying.
Okay.
Because it's, as you can see, it's such a relaxed cut of meat, and it's been seamed out off of the animal and hung and rested.
Right.
And that is what you get beef olives or quick frying steak from.
Right, okay.
Unfortunately, I haven't got any rump steak to show you.
That's alright.
It's not a cut of meat that I have in here all the time, but we can get it to order. And fillet steak is another cut of meat which comes here.
Right.
Which, we will be getting back in tomorrow.
Okay.
But fillet steak generally lays here on the rib. Okay. It's the only dormant muscle on the animal that doesn't do any work. It just lays in the ribs of the cow.
So what does that mean for the consumer?
Very, very tender.
Right. Okay.
That's why fillet steak
is the most expensive. Right. Okay. That's handy to know. Right. Lovely. Can you just explain to me, Phil, why the front end of the animal is cheaper than the back end of the animal?
Well, it's working its way up. The front end of the animal is basically all the stewing, braising and casserole cuts of the meat.
Right, so they're slightly tougher maybe than the back end?
Slightly tougher, but they shouldn't eat tough.
No.
If the front end, you wouldn't braise top side, you wouldn't stew sirloin steak.
No.
So if you did, it doesn't mean that because they're leaner and tender, they're going to be fit for a purpose of braising or stewing.
Right.
It's just the way the animal has evolved.
Right, okay.
Over time, the back end of the animal has always been more expensive than the front.
Right, okay. No, I just wanted to know, because a lot of readers and that will probably think the same as me. Why is steak more expensive than the front?
Market forces have gone over the years.
Okay.
But you know, there's not much between now the price of topside,
right,
which now is $12.50 a kilo.
Yeah.
And if you go to a very decent buttock steak, cut from the front of the animal, seamed out and matured, that would be $11.50.
Oh wow! So the price has really come down between the two, hasn't it?
Come down between the two.
Yeah.
Because you know, popularity. You know, and it's not. The butchery has had to evolve with the way that people cook. You know, people housewives haven't got all day to stand in the kitchen, so they want leaner cuts of meat that are more easy to cook, quicker to cook.
Right, okay, that's fantastic. Really informational for me, Phil, and will educate the users of Kickstart Fat Loss and Fat Buster, so thank you very much for that. Now, I picked up this book from you yesterday, which you are giving away to everybody that visits you and orders, Yeah. And tell me a bit about this book.
Well, this is a book here we produced by the Beef Labelling Scheme. And what they do, they select certain recipes for certain times of the year. This booklet at the moment now is coming into the winter recipes.
Okay.
And it's showing you meatballs here.
Yep.
A slow roast joint there with brisket, a slow roast
gnocchi,
beef joint.
Okay.
And it gives you very good recipes. They come out about 5 times a year.
Right.
Each brochure.
Yeah.
Summer, winter, spring.
Brilliant. So there's always inspiration to tell people
always inspiration
of how to cook your
and they've
food.
got a website.
Lovely. Okay. But you'll always tell people what to do anyway.
Give free advice.
Yeah, I know you do, and everybody appreciates it actually. And I really appreciate you doing this vlog for us.
No problem.
Anything else to add? What is your favourite piece of meat for yourself?
Well, you know, if I was truthful, I do like stew and dumplings.
Yeah, you like that.
Not good for the waistline. But in moderation, you know, once a week it don't hurt.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, Phil,
you can get a Torah light dumpling mix now.
Yeah. All right, Phil. Thank you very much for doing this vlog for me, and we will speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.